Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma 'allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilman ya kareem. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman nafi'an wa rizqan tayyiban wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. We resume our Friday class after a bit of a layover for the Ramadan break and then Eid, and we resume with a new series. So just kind of go back a bit of what this class is about. This class is we titled the Know Your Deen series, and we're focusing on the three most important branches of the religion, as outlined in the hadith of Jibreel. This is a hadith that we had covered some time ago, in which Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel, came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of a man, and he asked him a number of questions. The first questions he asked him, the first three questions, was what is Iman, what is Islam, what is Ihsan. And our series, Know Your Deen series, is revolving around these three concepts. Iman, which is our beliefs, our aqeedah. What do we believe as Muslims? Islam, our actions, fiqh. How do we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How do we interact with our fellow human beings, and so on. Sharia, and Ihsan, Islamic spirituality, purification of the soul. How do we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So in our previous series, the very last series we did, it was on the theme of Ihsan, and we did a series on the etiquette of dua, and the times in which dua is accepted, and the places in which dua is accepted, and the conditions for an accepted dua, and other etiquettes related to dua. Now we'll come back around, make another go around to the theme of Iman, which is our beliefs, our aqeedah, our creed. And inshallah we're going to be covering one of the short but fundamental and important texts written by one of the early scholars of Islam by the name of Abu J'afar At-Tahawi. He died in the year 321 after Hijrah, and he wrote a very short, we can call it a book, but it's not really a book, it's a very short treatise, as we can say, in which he outlines the beliefs of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the people who follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and stick with the Jama'ah, wide body of Muslims. And this text, it is a very important text, a very early text. We're going to give a very simple explanation. All right, we're going to go over the text, very simple explanation to understand. And then inshallah, the plan is to maybe go back again, the text over again, with some more details, and go into a bit more details after that. But first, we want to have a broad idea of what our beliefs are as Muslims. What do we need to believe in as Muslims? When we hear the term aqeedah and beliefs, a lot of times people think of it as, this is how we know this person is a deviant. This is how we know that this person is not, you can't pray behind this person, or you can't take from that person. But aqeedah really should be about, for me to know what I believe in. Right? For me to know what I believe in. What do we believe in as Muslims? Before you focus on anybody else, we need to know what we believe in. What do we stand for? What do we believe in? And this is what Imam At-Tahawi attempts to do here. So we'll try to get straight into the text. Imam At-Tahawi was a very early scholar. And he was affiliated with the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa. It's very clear in the very introduction he gives. So we'll get straight into the text. He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَبِهِ نَسْتَعِينَ Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful, from whom we seek help. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. And then he gives a short introduction as to why he's writing this book or this text. And what is the purpose of it? هذا ذكر بيان عقيدة أهل السنة والجماعة على مذهب فقهاء الملة أبي حنيفة النعمان بن ثابت الكوفي وأبي يوسف يعقوب بن إبراهيم الأنصاري وأبي عبد الله محمد بن الحسن الشيباني رضوان الله عليهم أجمعين وما يعتقدون من أصول الدين ويدينون به رب العالمين. This is a clear presentation of the creed of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, in very simple terms, are those who adhere to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as understood by the Sahaba and those who follow them. According to the doctrines of the jurists of the religion, Abu Hanifa, Nu'man ibn Thabit al-Kufi. Abu Hanifa, this is his nickname, his kunya, and his actual name was Nu'man ibn Thabit. And Abu Yusuf, Yaqub ibn Ibrahim al-Ansari, and Abu Abdullah, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, these were his two most prominent students. Imam Abu Hanifa had multiple students, but he had two most prominent students known as As-Sahiban. They were Abu Yusuf, Al-Qadi Abu Yusuf, who later became a judge, and Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, who was the one who essentially transmitted the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa. So he says that this is the aqidah of the jurists of this religion, referring to these three names that he mentioned, and what they believe regarding the fundamentals of the religion and their faith in the Lord of the worlds. Now this creed is not limited to just these three imams that he mentioned, but in fact it is the creed of the Muslims up to that point. All right, it's not limited just to Abu Hanifa and the followers of Abu Hanifa, but it is the creed of the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the wide-body Muslims, including all the other madhahib, or the founders of the other madhahib, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and so on. He says that نقول في توحيد الله معتقدين بتوفيق الله إن الله واحد لا شريك له. We say, so he says now, we understand from this, he says we say that this is not something he's making up. This is not a creed that he's making up or that he determined by himself, but this is something that he's transmitting, that he got from his teachers, who got from their teachers. This is something he's transmitting, and this is something that not just he is saying, but all of the scholars that he has taken from also say. So we say regarding the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believing in the guidance of Allah, that Allah is one without any partner. Allah is one without any partner. And this is the core of the religion, right? This is the absolute essential core of the religion, to believe in tawheed, to believe that there is only one creator, only one sustainer, only one being and deity worthy of worship. And this is what we know as tawheed, and this is what all the prophets call to. All the prophets call to, as is mentioned in the Quran, the prophets came and they said, أَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have no other deity besides Him. This is something all the prophets came, and the very first thing they called to was this concept of tawheed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. And Allah has this attribute of oneness, which we call wahdaniyya, that He has no partners. La sharika la, He has no partners. This is an explanation of Allah's oneness. He has no partners. No partners in His lordship, in His rububiyyah. No partners in His worship, in His uluhiyyah. So there's no creator besides Allah. There's no sustainer besides Allah. There's no nourisher and maintainer besides Allah. And there is no one who should be worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No being should be worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the doctrine of wahdaniyya or tawheed, believing in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says after that, وَلَا شَيْءَ مِثْلُهُ, and there is nothing like Him. There's nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Allah says in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is nothing like unto Him, and He is the hearing, and He is the seeing. So this is another attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a negative attribute, in which we negate that Allah is like anything else. This means that Allah is not similar or like His creation. And it also means that the creation is not similar or like Allah. From all angles. From all angles. Allah does not resemble His creation. The creation does not resemble Allah in any way, shape, or form. All right, and this is a fundamental belief as Muslims, that Allah is not similar to His creation. The creation is not similar to Allah. So Allah is unique, and He is one in His essence, in His attributes, in His actions. There's no other being that is similar or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His essence. There's no other being that is similar or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His attributes. There is no being that is similar or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His actions. And what we find of similar names, right? Sometimes you'll find similar names. So we say, for example, that Allah has life and we have life. Right? We have life, Allah has life. What we find in similar names is because our language is not able to accurately describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to use similar wording, but this does not contradict the fact that Allah is not like His creation. All right, Allah is not like His creation. Creation is not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah has power, we have power. The only similarity is in the name. The only similarity is in this name, but the reality is two different things. The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like the power of creation, and whatever power is ascribed to creation is not like the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is nothing like Him. وَلَا شَيْءَ مِثْلُهُ وَلَا شَيْءَ يُعْجِزُهُ. And there is nothing that can weaken Him, or that can overpower Him, or can render Him unable to do something, or powerless. All right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, we learn from this that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. There is nothing that can stop Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from doing what He wills. Nothing can prevent Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from executing what He wants to execute. Right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give life, He will give life. To a certain person, He gives life to a certain person. He wants to give death to a certain person. This will occur, and there is nothing that can ever get in the way of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to do. All right, if Allah wants to send rain tomorrow, there is absolutely nothing that will prevent the rain from coming. All right, this is what we mean that nothing can overpower Him, or nothing can weaken Him, or nothing can render Him unable to do anything. وَلَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُ. And there is no one worthy of worship but Him. Now, when we say the kalima, La ilaha illallah, what does that really mean? It means La ma'buda bihaqqin illallah, that there's no deity worthy of worship except for Allah. There's no deity worthy of worship except for Allah. There are a lot of things that people worship. Right? Some people worship idols. Some people worship Prophet Isa. Some people worship the sun. Some people worship the stars. People worship a lot of different things. All right? Some people worship rocks. They worship cows. And the list goes on of things that people, they worship. But nothing has the right to be worshipped but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means that, what does that mean? It means that there's something that Allah possesses that makes Him worthy of being worshipped. Right? There's something, when we say La ilaha illallah, there's no one worthy of worship except for Allah. It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala possesses something that makes Him worthy of worship, and what everything else does not have what Allah possesses, which means that they are not worthy of worship. And what is it that Allah possesses? It is perfect attributes. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attributes of perfection. Allah has attributes of perfection, and He is exalted and far removed from any attributes of imperfection. Right? So this is what makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala worthy of our worship. That He has attributes of perfection no one else shares besides Him. And He is far removed from any attributes of imperfection, which means that, which is present in every other created being besides Allah, which makes anything else besides Allah not worthy of worship. Alright, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say that He is worthy of our worship because of His perfect attributes and because He is far removed from any imperfections. قَدِيمٌ بِلَابْتِدَاءٍ دَائِمٌ بِلَانْتِهَاءٍ. He is the eternal without a beginning, and enduring without an end, without the end. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His existence does not have a beginning. Alright? Everything has a beginning. Right? Everything that you see, right? Human beings, plants, animals, everything has a beginning. At one point, it did not exist, and it came into existence. Right? Everything besides Allah has this description. That at one point it did not exist, and it came into existence. At one point it was non-existent, and then it came into existence. Everything has that description except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has always existed. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always existed. And this is something that the human mind really can't fathom. Right? It's not something that can be measured in years. Right? It's not a question of, well, how many years before the creation did Allah exist? This is a question that we don't ask. It's not measured in years. Allah has always existed. Right? We don't say billions and billions of years before the creation, or we don't say trillions and trillions. The time doesn't apply for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has always existed. Right? He has no beginning to his existence. Every creation has a beginning. Every creation was preceded by non-existence. And similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his existence does not have an end. He will always continue to exist. He has always existed, and he will always continue to exist. And in between that, his existence is continuous. He doesn't go in and out of existence either. لا يفنى ولا يبيد. He will never perish nor come to an end. This is essentially emphasis on the previous point, that Allah has no beginning and he has no end. وَلَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَا يُرِيد. And nothing happens except what he wills. Nothing happens except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. There's saying that the early generations used to say, which is مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ كَانَ وَمَا لَمْ يَشَأْ لَمْ يَكُنْ. Whatever Allah wills will happen. And whatever he does not will not happen. So it is not possible. It is not possible that Allah wills something and that thing does not happen. Right? It is not possible, for example, Allah wills that it will rain tomorrow. It is impossible that Allah will will that and that it doesn't rain tomorrow. Right? It cannot happen. Impossible. And likewise, it is not possible that Allah did not will something and then it happened. All right? For example, Allah did not will for it to rain tomorrow and then all of a sudden it rains. Also not possible. It's not possible that Allah can will something and what he willed did not come to pass. And it is also not possible that Allah did not will something and that thing came to pass. All right? These two things cannot happen. They are impossible. If we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will something and it didn't happen. Right? For example, Allah willed that this person would die today. And then we wake up tomorrow and we find that the person is still alive. All right? This is impossible. But if somebody was to say something like this, what would it mean? It would mean that Allah is not all powerful. Right? That Allah has, he doesn't have full power over all things. All right? If we say that Allah did not will something, right? Allah did not will something for it to happen, but it happened anyway. It happened anyway. Then this would mean that Allah is coerced or forced into allowing things to happen. So these are two impossibilities. For Allah to will something and then that does not happen, or Allah not to will something and then it happens. All right. So we understand from everything that we understand from this that everything it happens by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Everything that's happened, good or bad, right? Good or evil, it has happened by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? People are being massacred. Did it happen by Allah's will? It happened by Allah's will. Now it doesn't mean that Allah is, when we say that it happened by Allah's will, it doesn't mean that Allah is pleased with it, or Allah ordered it to happen, or Allah wanted it to happen. Right? This is a different point. But everything that happened or is happening or will happen, whether it's good or whether it is or what we perceive as bad, it happened by Allah's will. Right? Because there is nothing that can happen except that Allah willed it, and there's nothing that Allah willed except that it has to happen. So whatever has occurred, past, present, future, it occurs by Allah's will. Right? It occurs by Allah's will. Allah will that thing to happen. Even things that we perceive as bad. People being massacred, people being starved, right? People being tortured. Allah has willed that to happen. All right? It doesn't necessarily mean that Allah is pleased with it, but anything that happens by His will. وَلَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَا يُرِيد. Nothing happens except what He wills. لَا تَبْلُغُهُ الْأَوْهَامُ وَلَا تُدْرِكُهُ الْأَفْهَامُ. No imagination can fully conceive of Him. No understanding can fully comprehend Him. It is not possible for the human intellect to ever fully understand the true nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? The nature of His attributes, right? It is impossible. No matter how far science advances, no matter how far technology advances, it is impossible for any creation to ever fully grasp the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nature of His attributes, right? So science can go very far. They can maybe discover all of the secrets of the universe, right? Exactly when the universe is created, they can discover the black holes and everything like that, and they can discover all the secrets of the universe, right? As far as science can go, right? But science and technology and human progression can never get to the point where they are able to grasp or understand Allah's true reality, His true, the nature of His attributes. All right. So we cannot never. Only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the one who knows Himself, right? The true nature of Himself. So no one, no imagination can fully conceive of Him. This is why the scholars have mentioned that whatever you can think about, right? Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you can imagine, that's not Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? Whatever, however far your mind can go, right? That it's not Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. It cannot be Allah's description. So no imagination can fully conceive of Him. No understanding can fully comprehend Him. وَلَا يُشْبِهُهُ الْأَنَامِ. Right, this is similar to what we mentioned earlier, that Allah does not resemble His creation. He does not resemble any created being. Right, so the essence of any being that exists or that will exist can never be similar or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, the attributes of any being can never be similar or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we mentioned, words that are used that are similar, Allah has power, we have power, it is only because the language is deficient to truly describe Allah's power. So we have to use words that are deficient, but we understand that the words might be the same, but the realities are different. Hayyun la yamut, qayyumun la yanam. Right? We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is living. He is ever living and He never dies. Always sustaining and never sleeping. Right? So we have life. Right? We are living. Allah is, we describe Him with life. Allah is living. But the realities of these two things are completely different. Alright, so Allah's life, His life does not have a beginning. Our lives have a beginning. Allah's life has no end. Our lives have an end. Right? Allah's life does not change. So throughout the course of our life, we started off as a drop of fluid, and then we went through the stages of formation in the womb, and then we were born, and then we started off as coming out of the womb as babies, and then childhood, adolescence, adulthood, old age. Right? We have stages of creation. We have different. Our lives go through different phases. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's life is a perfect life, and it doesn't go through any of these phases. There's no deficiencies in it. When we sleep maybe for like a third of our lives, right? Maybe a third. Some people might sleep more than that, right? But we sleep for 8 hours, 8 hours a day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not sleep. Sleep is as it comes in the hadith, akhul maut. It is the brother of death. So Allah has life, but His life is a life of perfection. All right, it does not change. There's no deficiencies in it. There's no lapses. Allah does not have mental lapses. He does not have tiredness. He does not have fatigue. All right, Allah has full and complete and perfect life, and this is a attribute of His. Mentioned in this point as well that Allah is qayyum. Hayyun la yamut, qayyumun la yanam. He is the qayyum. Qayyum means the one who does not depend on anything. Right? This is one of Allah's names, that He is qayyum, al-qayyum. Al-qayyum means the one who does not depend on anything, but everything depends on Him. Right? So once again, Al-Qayyum is the one who does not depend on anything, but everything depends on Him. So if it was not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing would exist. Nothing would exist. And if it was not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing would continue to exist. So everything depends on Him, and He does not depend on anyone. La yanam, He does not sleep, nor does He slumber, nor does He get tired. Right? As when we went over the Ayatul Kursi, right? We saw that verse, and part of the verse, La ta'khuduhu sinatun wa la nawm, that He does not sleep nor slumber overtakes Him. No, neither sleep nor the precursors to sleep, which is drowsiness and tiredness. All right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, His life is perfect, and He does not have any of these deficiencies that are present in our lives. خالق bila haja, raziqun bila mu'na or ma'una. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He creates without a need to create. And He provides for His creation without any effort. So, Allah did not need to create, right? We shouldn't, a person might, when we say that Allah has always existed and nothing existed besides Allah, there's a point where there was nothing in existence besides Allah. Right? Somebody might come to a conclusion where they might say that where Allah is maybe gets lonely and that's why He needed to create, or He needed this, that's why He needed to create, or He needed to feel some type of way, that's why He needed to create. Right? But this is not our belief. Our belief is that Allah has absolutely no need to create anything. He had absolutely no need to create us. He creates without a need to create. He did not create because He was lonely. He did not create because He needed to be worshipped. He did not create because He needed to be recognized, or He needed to be praised, or He needed to be worshipped. Allah did not have any need for creation. All right? Allah did not need to create us. And He provides for His creation without any effort. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can provide for everyone without any effort, without any struggle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for all of His creation without any difficulty. Mumitun bila makhafa, ba'ithun bila mashaqqa. He causes death with no fear or consequences. And He resurrects without any difficulty. Alright, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does not fear any retribution. Right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He could destroy every single living thing, right, on the face of the earth, and He would not fear any backlash. Right? He would not fear any fear of retribution. He would not fear any disapproval. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He causes death, there's no fear of this person is going to be upset, or that person will not approve, or if this person dies, then this will happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala causes death without any fear of consequences. And He resurrects without any difficulty. When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no such thing as range of difficulty. Right? When it comes to human beings, we have ranges of difficulty. Something might be easy, and then something might be difficult. Right? Lifting something object like this, right? We consider it easy. Right? Maybe lifting the table, difficult. When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no range. This range does not exist. Everything is the same for Allah. There's no something as easy or difficult or more difficult or easier. Everything is the same for Allah. Right? Everything is the same. إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. When He wants or wills something, then it will happen. It will happen, and there is no range of difficulty. Right? We don't say that it is more difficult for Allah to do this than this. Everything is the same. Right? Everything is the same for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He resurrects without any difficulty. Right? And this is kind of an answer to a question people used to ask at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and people continue to ask questions like this. They would the disbelievers at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they would take a bones, right, and then they would kind of like crush it as it turns into dust, and they would say, مَن يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ. Who's going to raise these bones after it has become dust? So thinking that this is something difficult, right? Thinking that this is something impossible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is able to resurrect the dead without any difficulty. without any difficulty, just as he was able to create without any difficulty, and everything is the same for him. Right? There's no such thing as something being any more difficult than the other. ما زال بصفاته قديما قبل خلقه لم يزد بكونهم شيئا لم يكن قبلهم من صفته وكما كان بصفاته أزليا كذلك لا يزال عليها أبديا. He has existed with his timeless attributes before his creation, which added nothing to his essence that was not already among his attributes. As his attributes were before creation, so they will continue forever. We'll read the next point because it's connected. ليس منذ خلق الخلق استفاد اسم الخالق ولا بإحداثه البرية استفاد اسم الباري. So we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been described with his attributes. Even before, for example, there was a creation. Allah has always been the creator. Even before there was a creation. Right? Allah has always been the giver of life. Even before there was any life to give. Allah has always been the giver of death. Even before there was any giver of death. Right? Allah has always been the maker. Right? Before there was anything made. So Allah has always existed with his attributes. Even before there was any creation. Right? So we don't say that Allah's attributes were non-existent and then they came into existence at some point. Right? We don't say that Allah ever acquired any attributes. Right? Like human beings, right? You go through phases and you might acquire a certain attribute. Right? You might be weak sometime and then you start going to the gym and you become strong. Right? You acquire attribute of strength. All right? So human beings, we acquire attributes and even before, when we're created, we didn't have these attributes before we were created. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has always been described with His attributes. Right? His attributes are timeless. Allah's attributes are timeless. They extend before the creation. So before creation, after creation, it did not change Allah's attributes in any way. All right? Allah has always been described with these same attributes of being all-powerful, being all-seeing, being all-hearing, being the creator, the nourisher, the sustainer. He is described these attributes even before there was creation. To the next point, it says that it is not because He created the creation that He earned the name the creator, nor by His making it did He earn the name the maker. Right? Allah has always been the creator, and He's always been named, has always been His name, the creator, Al-Khaliq, even before there was any creation. Why? Because Allah has always had the ability to create. Right? Even if there is no creation, Allah always had that ability to create, and so He is described with the name Al-Khaliq, and same thing for all His other names. So because Allah always had that ability to create, then He is in eternity the creator. And the same applies to all His names and attributes. وكما أنه محيي الموتى بعدما أحيا استحق هذا الاسم قبل إحيائهم كذلك استحق اسم الخالق قبل إنشائهم. Just as He resurrects the dead after they had life, He deserves this name before He brought them to life. Likewise, He deserved the name of the Creator before He produced them. Right? We know that Allah is Muhyi. One of Allah's names is that He is Al-Muhyi, the one who resurrects the dead. All right, has resurrection happened yet? Has the day of resurrection happened yet? Not yet. But yet we call Allah Al-Muhyi. We call Him the one who resurrects the dead, even though Allah has not resurrected the dead yet. Right? So even though this attribute, the effect of it has not occurred yet, Allah is still described and named with this attribute, that He is Al-Muhyi. And same thing goes with the other attributes. Allah is Al-Khaliq. He is the creator before there was any creation. Before there was any creation, Allah was the creator. Right? Before there was any creation, Allah, His name was the creator, Al-Khaliq. ذلك بأنه على كل شيء قدير وكل شيء إليه فقير وكل أمر إليه يسير لا يحتاج إلى شيء ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. This is because He has power over all things, and all things are in need of Him. Every matter is easy for Him. He has no need of anything, for there is nothing unto Him, and He is the hearing and the seeing. Right? So the attributes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, He has always had these attributes. Right? Forever. Right? In eternity, or pre-eternity, before there was any creation. So somebody might ask, how could Allah be described as the creator and there's no creation? Right? And the answer to that is that Allah always had the ability to create. Right? Allah always had the ability to create, and therefore He is the creator. Right? Just as we say, Allah is the one who resurrects the dead. Even though the dead have not been resurrected yet, but Allah has that ability to do so, and so He has that attribute and name of resurrecting the dead, and this applies to the other names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's very important we understand that Allah does not acquire attributes. Right? Allah does not acquire attributes. Because if we say Allah acquires an attribute, right? If we say, for example, Allah at one point was not the all-powerful, and then He became powerful, what is that indicating? Anyone?
Deficiency in His power.
Okay, deficiency, but what does it also indicate? Huh? Okay, it wasn't always God. Anybody else?
Time.
Huh?
Time.
Okay, elaborate.
So time does not apply. So there is no before and after.
Good, right? So time doesn't apply. It would also mean that these things are creations. They will be created, right? Because Allah is uncreated, right? And His attributes are uncreated. If you say Allah acquired something, then that means the thing that He acquired is created. And Allah's attributes are uncreated, right? Allah's attributes are the same as His essence, uncreated, and it's always existed, right? So we say that Allah is His names, and He's always had His attributes, even before there was a time where these attributes showed any effect, right? So Allah has always been the creator, even before there was any creation. Even before there's any creation, He was always the creator because He had that ability to create, right? He always had that ability to create, and it is not that He ever acquired the attribute of creation or ability to create. Right? So all Allah's attributes are pre-eternal along with His essence. Right? This is the point that we're trying to say. Then goes on to say, خَلَقَ الْخَلْقَ بِعِلْمِهِ. He created the creation with His knowledge. He created the creation with His knowledge. Why didn't He say He created the creation with His power? Anyone? Even though we know that Allah created creation with His power. Why did Imam At-Tahawi say that He created the creation with His power, but instead He said He created the creation with His knowledge? Anyone?
He knows why and what will happen to them.
Okay. And what is that? What is that topic called? Anyone? This is also one of the pillars of Iman. Qadr. Right? So now he kind of shifting into a different topic, which is what we call al-qadr, destiny. Right? Destiny, or predestination, or divine decree, or any other way they translate it. So He created the creation with His knowledge. Everything that Allah created, He created with pre-eternal knowledge. So it is not possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created something and it was not in His pre-eternal knowledge from before that. Now this is important because there were people who misguided groups. In fact, the very first misguided group or very first deviation in beliefs were people who they denied al-qadr, they denied destiny, or they denied the divine decree. One of the things they said, and they were called, there's a group, they were called al-Qadariyah. They were called al-Qadariyah, but they actually denied qadr. So they're called al-Qadariyah because they talked about this issue of qadr, but they actually denied qadr. And what did they say? They said that Allah does not know things until before they occur. This is one of the things they said. They said that Allah does not know things before until it occurs. So when things occur, then Allah knows that it happened. All right. But our belief is that everything that's happened is from the pre-eternal knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. You have groups, so they say that they denied the concept of divine decree and destiny, and they said that Allah does not know something until it occurs. And before it occurred, He didn't have knowledge of it. Right? And the reason why they said this, we'll get into that later on. But this type of belief can amount to disbelief. Believing something like this can amount to disbelief, kufr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is denying Allah's attribute of being all-knowing. That Allah is all-knowing, that means that He knows everything, past, present, and future. And this is pre-eternal, that has always existed. Allah's had this knowledge from pre-eternity, that of everything that's going to happen, right? Sitting here today, Allah always knew, right? There's no time, we can't say time, give an amount of time, but Allah always knew that we would be sitting here today, right? This is something that is in the pre-eternal knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that was created and everything that happened, it happens by His knowledge. So there are some groups, right? In fact, the very first deviated groups, they said that they denied Allah's knowledge, and they said that Allah does not know things until it occurs. All right, and our belief is that Allah has knowledge of everything before they occur. Before they occur, Allah had knowledge of everything that will occur. خَلَقَ الْخَلْقَ بِعِلْمِهِ, He created the creation with His knowledge. وَقَدَّرَ لَهُمْ أَقْدَارًا, and He decreed destinies for them. He decreed destinies for them. All right, so Allah created based on His knowledge. All right, everything that has occurred and created was based on Allah's pre-eternal knowledge. So His knowledge preceded His creation. Right? So it's not possible that there's a creation that conflicts with Allah's pre-eternal knowledge. Right? It's not possible that something exists that Allah did not already have prior knowledge about it before. So He created the creation with His knowledge. He decreed destinies for them. وَضَرَبَ لَهُمْ أَجَالًا, and He set for them lifespans. He set for them lifespans, and this would all include provisions. So this topic of qadr, Imam At-Tahawi is actually he's gonna mention it several times later on in the text, scattered around. So the one thing about this text is that it's not necessarily arranged in a particular order. So he mentions the topic of qadr, and then he will mention it again later on in another place, and he'll mention it again later on in another place, and it will be scattered throughout the text. So he's going to start, Imam At-Tahawi is going to start this topic of Al-Qadr simply, and then he's going to go into a bit more detail later on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation with His knowledge. He decreed destinies for them, and He set for them lifespans. All right? Everything has a lifespan, as we know, right? Nothing, no one dies except that was the time appointed for them to die. All right? And no one lives except that they were meant to live. Everything has already been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is in His pre-eternal knowledge. وَلَمْ يَخْفَى عَلَيْهِ شَيْءٌ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَخْلُقَهُمْ وَعَلِمَ مَا هُمْ عَامِلُونَ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَخْلُقَهُم. Nothing was hidden for Him before He created them. Right? Before there was any creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knew everything that's going to happen. All right? Before He created any human beings, before any other creation, He already knew what they're going to do, everything that's going to happen. All right? Nothing was hidden from Him, even the things that are hidden from the angels, right? The angels that are scribes, that are observing our actions. There's even some things that those angels, right? They are not aware of, right? Some things that might cross your mind, that the angels might not necessarily be aware of that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ. And we know what his self whispers, human being, his self whispers to him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, even things that we might seem the most hidden. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that, and this knowledge was not acquired. This knowledge has always been with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in pre-eternity. He knew what they would do before He created them. وَأَمَرَهُمْ بِطَاعَتِهِ وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِهِ. And He commanded them to obey Him, and He forbade them to disobey Him. This is what we call taklif. Taklif is responsibility. This is what we have been ordered to do. Right? This is what Allah wants from us, to obey Him, and He forbade us from disobeying Him. This is what we call taklif. And a person who is accountable, right? Accountability is called a mukallaf. They're called a mukallaf. وكل شيء يجري بتقديره ومشيئته ومشيئته تنفذ لا مشيئة للعبد إلا ما شاء لهم فما شاء لهم كان وما لم يشاء لم يكن. Everything that occurs is according to His decree and His will. His will is always accomplished. The will of the servant is only what He wills for them. Whatever He wills for them comes to be. Whatever He does not will for them does not come to be. Right? We have a will, but Allah's will supersedes every other will. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Whatever you will, you cannot will or wish or want anything except that it has to be in conjunction with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll take the questions after, inshallah. So we might have a will, but that will has to conform to Allah's will. Right? It must conform to Allah's will. All right? Because we said at the beginning, it is not possible for Allah to will something and that what He willed does not come to pass. And neither is it possible that Allah did not will something and what He did not will came to pass. Right? These things cannot happen, it's impossible. So that means that everything that Allah wills will happen, and whatever He did not will, it will not happen. So whatever will that we have, it must be in accordance to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed. And as we said, though, this does not mean that what Allah wills, He is necessarily pleased with. Right? It does not mean that He wills something that He is pleased with it. وَلَا يَرْضَى لِعِبَادِهِ الْكُفْرَ. Allah says that He is not pleased with kufr for His slaves. Alright? Or Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَأْمُرُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. Allah does not order you to indecency, al-fahsha. So Allah does not order these things. Allah does not order anyone to disbelieve in Him. Allah does not order anyone to have to engage in any type of indecency. But it does not mean that He did not will those things to happen. Because everything that happens by His will. So we distinguish between what Allah is pleased with, all right, versus what Allah has willed. And this topic will come up a bit later, inshallah. Last point, and then we'll end with this. يهدي من يشاء ويعصم ويعافي فضلا ويضل من يشاء ويخذل ويبتلي عدلا. He guides whoever He wills, He protects them and secures them as grace from His grace. And He leads astray whoever He wills, He humiliates them, He puts them to trial with His justice. All Allah's actions are between two things. They are either from His grace and His bounty, or is from His justice. All right? All of Allah's actions are between these two things. Between either His grace or His justice. Which means what? That Allah can never be described as having wronged anybody, as having the attribute of dhulm, right? As oppressing. All of Allah's attributes is either due to His grace, His fadl, or His justice. So, guidance. We also understand from this what? That you also understand from this that there is nothing that is wajib upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing that Allah must do. Right? There's nothing that Allah must do. So guidance. Does Allah have to guide us? Question. Does Allah have to guide us? No. Guidance is from Allah's His grace. Guidance is from Allah's grace. Allah does not have to guide. Right? He chose to guide, and this was a gift and a bounty from Him. So if Allah guides somebody, or He protects somebody, all right, or He secures somebody, this is from His grace. Right? This is from His bounty. If somebody goes astray, and of course they go astray by Allah's will, if somebody is humiliated, if somebody is put to trial, then this is from Allah's justice. Right? This is from Allah's justice, and all His actions rotate between these two things. Right? So if somebody is guided, Allah provides for somebody, this is from His grace. Somebody is misguided, somebody is humiliated, or somebody is put to trial, then this is from Allah's justice. But there's no third category of injustice. All right, there's no third category of injustice. Why is that? Why is that not possible? A little bit of a deeper question, but
Because Allah cannot commit zulm.
okay, but why?
Because He has made that prohibited for Himself.
Okay, He's made it prohibited, but okay, something else. Why is it so? Another question. So we say that whatever happens, it happens by either Allah's whatever Allah gives to His servants or allows to happen to His servants. It is either through His grace or through His justice. Right? So somebody might come and say, well, there are people who are, they didn't commit any crimes, right? Children, for example. Children they're being starved. And we seek Allah's protection from that, right? Or being, oppressed and killed. Somebody might ask, well, if Allah's actions are either through His grace, this is not grace, but this is, it's justice, right? But why is this not injustice? Why is it not injustice? Why is it that Allah's actions to His servants are between these two things, between His grace and His justice, but it cannot be injustice? If somebody starves, is being tested with starvation, but we will not say that this is injustice, and it cannot be injustice from Allah, from Allah's angle.
Because Allah will provide reward for that later.
Okay, but what if that person is a disbeliever? Yeah.
So I like to watch near-death experiences, and one
Okay.
she was lived a very satanic life, and she said she had a near-death experience where she goes to the other side, and she was experiencing the hell. But she said, when I was in that state, I felt like it was justice. So the real justice comes in the afterlife, and you feel like it is. She said, even though I was in hell, I felt it was just.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. To simplify things, everything that's in the heavens and the earth belongs to who? Belongs to Allah. Right? Everything in the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah. And therefore, if everything belongs to Allah, if everything within His dominion, then He can do whatever He wants. Right? If something belongs to you, then no. So what is injustice? Injustice is to go beyond the limits or to infringe upon somebody else's right. All right? But if everything belongs to you, then can that be described as injustice? Right? You might not like it. We're not saying if it, you like it or not, or agree with it or not. But can it be described as unjust if Allah does something within His own dominion? Right? No. All right? Maybe a little simple example. You go and you buy a car, right? And then you bring it home to your yard, and then you strip the car, and you burn the tires, and you do whatever you want with the car. Can somebody say that's unjust? Right? You own that car. Somebody else does that to your car. That's unjust. Right? But you bought the car, you own the car, right? You can do that. Allah can do whatever He wants in His dominion, and it can be described as either grace or out of His justice, but it cannot be described as unjust because everything is within Allah's dominion. And we'll end with that, as is the time for adhan. Subhanakallah bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.